Good morning to one and all present here. I am Dr. J. Philomel Carlin from Department of Mathematics, SRM, Madurai College for Engineering and Technology at Sivagangai. I have finished MSc B.Ed, MPhil, PhD in Mathematics. I have 7 years experience in teaching and 11 years experience in research works. I have published 6 papers in my research works. Among these 6 papers, 3 papers are published in Springer and 3 papers are published in an international journals. I have presented 7 papers in some occasions. Especially, I have presented in Malaysia, Uttar Pradesh, Kochi, Chennai, Perekulam and Dindigul. Now, I am going to give some ideas on testing of hypothesis. In this session, we are going to discussing about introduction, types of testing of hypothesis, level of significance, procedure for testing a hypothesis, single mean, difference of means and conclusion. Testing of hypothesis. Many problems in engineering require that we decide whether to accept or reject a statement about some parameter. The statement is nothing but hypothesis, and the decision making procedure about the hypothesis is known as hypothesis testing. Before this, we need to learn 2 components such as population and sample. First one is population. A population in statistics means a set of objects or mainly the set of numbers which are measurements or observations pertaining to the objects. Next, sample. A pot selected from the population is called a sample, and the process of selection of a sample is called sampling. On the basis of sample information, we make certain decisions about the population. In taking such decisions, we make certain assumptions. These assumptions are known as statistical hypotheses. These hypotheses are tested. Assuming the hypothesis is correct, we calculate the probability of getting the observed sample. If this probability is less than a certain assigned value, the hypothesis is to be accepted, otherwise rejected. The size of the population is denoted by capital N and in sample by small n. The mean of the population is preferred by mu and in sample by x bar. The standard deviation of the population is indicated by sigma and in sample by s. The proportion of the population is preferred by p and in sample by p bar. Types of testing of hypothesis. Testing of hypothesis divided into 2 types. First one is large sample test, second one is small sample test. It depends upon the sample of size. If the sample of size greater than or equal to 30, then it is called large sample test. If the sample of size less than 30, then it is called small sample test. The large sample test divided into 4 types: single mean, difference of means, single proportion and difference of proportions. The small sample test divided into 3 types: T distribution, chi-square distribution and F distribution. The T distribution divided into 2 types: single mean and difference of means. Chi-square distribution divided into 3 types: single variance, goodness of fit and independence of attributes. Level of significance. The probability that the value of the statistic lies in the critical region is called the level of significance. It divided into 3 types: two-tile test, right-tile test and left-tile test. If the problem contains the words such as lower, smaller, and then it is called left-tile test. If the problem contains the words such as greater, higher, upper, then it is called right-tile test. If the problem contains like these words, then it is called two-tile test. The value of Z for two-tile test is 2.58 for 1%, 1.96 for 5% and 1.645 for 10%. In right-tile test, the value of Z is 2.33 for 1%, 1.645 for 5% and 1.28 for 10%. In left-tile test, the value of Z is minus 2.33 for 1%, minus 1.645 for 5% and minus 1.28 for 10%. Procedure for testing a hypothesis. It contains 6 steps. The first one is null hypothesis. It's denoted by H0. It means there is no significant difference between observed value and expected value. Second one is alternative hypothesis and it is denoted by H1. It means there exists a significant difference between observed value and expected value. And the level of significance is denoted by alpha. If the problem contains the level of significance, then we can proceed for that value. Suppose if not given in the problem, then we can assume the level of significance as 5%. Fourth one is table value. It's depend upon the alternative hypothesis tested by which test, that is left test or right test or two-tail test. Then fifth step is calculated value. It is the formula using for which type the problem is given. Sixth one is conclusion. If the calculated value less than table value, then we accept H0 and we reject H1. If the calculated value greater than table value, then we accept H1 and we reject H0. Now we are going to discussing about large sample test of two types. The first one is single mean, second one is difference of mean. In single mean, one population and one sample have been discussed and the sample of size greater than or equal to 30. In difference of mean, two samples are discussed and the sample of size is greater than or equal to 30. First type, single mean. The problem is nothing but a normal population has a mean of 6.48 and standard deviation of 1.5. In a sample of 400 members, the mean is 6.75. Is the difference significant? In this problem, one population and one sample have been discussed and the sample of size greater than or equal to 30, that is 400. Therefore, we can do this problem as single mean. So, the mean of the population is 6.48, standard deviation of the population is 1.5 and the size n equal to 400. The mean of the sample is 6.75. Now we are going to discussing 6 steps. Here they are discussing two means, that is x bar and mu. Therefore, the null hypothesis is denoted by H0 from x bar equal to mu. That is, there is no significant difference between the population mean and sample mean. Second one is alternative hypothesis and it is denoted by H1. In this problem, they won't mention any words such as lower, higher, like. Then it is called two-tail test. Therefore, alternative hypothesis is denoted by H1 from x bar not equal to mu. Third step is level of significance. In this problem, they won't give the level of significance value. Therefore, we can assume that alpha equal to 5%. Here we are discussing about two-tail test. Therefore, the table value for the two-tail test and the level of significance is 5%. Then the value of z is 1.96 and the problem is single mean type. Therefore, the formula for the single mean is x bar minus mu divided by s divided by root n and the value is 3.54. Here calculated value greater than table value. Therefore, we accept H1, reject H0. Type 2. Here, difference of means. The problem is nothing but the average marks scored by 32 boys is 72 with a standard deviation of 8, while that for 36 girls is 70 with standard deviation of 6. Test at 1% level of significance whether the boys perform better than girls. Here they are discussing about two samples and the level of significance is 1% and they are asking about the performances of boys better than girls. So the sample size of first is 32. The size of second sample is 36. The mean of first sample is 72. The mean of second sample is 70. The standard deviation of first sample is 8. The standard deviation of second sample is 6. Here alpha equal to 1%. So here we are discussing about two means x1 bar and x2 bar. So according to that, we are writing null hypothesis H0 from x1 bar equal to x2 bar. That is, there is no significant difference between two means x1 bar and x2 bar. And second one is alternative hypothesis. Here they are mentioning boys perform better than girls, therefore it is right tail test. Alternative hypothesis is H1 from x1 bar greater than x2 bar. Here they are given level of significance at 1%, therefore alpha equal to 1%. Here we are discussing right tail test. So, and also the level of significance is 1%, therefore the Z value is 2.33. Here we are discussing difference of means types. The formula for difference of means is Z equal to x1 bar minus x2 bar divided by root of s1 square divided by n1 plus s2 square divided by n2 is 1.15. Here calculated value less than table value. Then we accept H0, reject H1. In this session, single mean must be discussed one population and one sample, and the sample of size greater than or equal to 30. And the difference of means, we have discussed two samples and the sample of size greater than or equal to 30. In single proportion, one sample and one unknown value x must be discussed and the sample of size greater than or equal to 30. In difference of proportions, two samples and two unknown values are discussed and the sample of size greater than or equal to 30. Thank you.